peak markets fall on Friday as investor sentiment takes a hit over worsening U.S.-China tensions. This is Business Express on the network service of the NTA. We are reaching you from Abuja, the nation's capital. I am Muplang Dakok. It's so good to know you're always tuned to Business Express. The federal government says it has identified oil and non-oil initiatives that could help the country generate between 13 trillion naira to 18 trillion naira and achieve its 15% revenue to gross domestic product target. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, said the Strategic Revenue Growth Initiative of government inaugurated last year would help the government in achieving this revenue growth target. The minister, while noting that states would need to generate 3.4 trillion naira to realize this, added that the COVID-19 pandemic had brought to the fore the need and urgency to further diversify the sources of government revenue. Meanwhile, Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Issa Pantami, has inaugurated 6 completed projects across the country under the digital economy sector. The inauguration, which was done virtually by Pantami on behalf of President Muhammadu Buhari, is geared towards supporting the development of a digital Nigeria. The minister noted that the drive is in line with the present administration's economic diversification, ensuring security, fighting corruption, and leveraging on deploying information communications technology (ICT) in achieving its agenda. He said that the 6 projects could be mapped to relevant pillars of the National Digital Economy Policy Strategy.
Many ongoing, at least trainings that we are providing for Nigerians, some in the area of high-tech, agric, which is another area that we feel there is need for our agric to be integrated into digital sector so that we will try to enhance the productivity and the efficiency of the sector.
The establishment of these 6 projects in the country will no doubt create employment opportunities to our teeming population growth.
Block by block, center by center, state by state, zone by zone, the digital footprint and infrastructure master plan of this country will be executed.
This will help our youths to expand their intellectual curiosity. It will aid learning.
In another development, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has announced 50 billion naira special mechanism funds to revive the country's ailing textile industry. The funds, to be administered by the Bank of Industry at a 4.5% interest rate, will use any of the CBN-approved non-interest financing instruments for refinancing of projects, long-term financing for acquisition of plant and machinery, and working capital for beneficiaries. A statement by CBN Director of Financial Policy and Regulation Department, Kelvin, said the seed fund, which is one-off intervention, will terminate by December 31st, 2025, with the maximum financial amount pegged at 2 billion naira for a single facility and 1 billion naira for financing. The Senate has passed the Banks and Other Financial Institutions Act, which gives the Central Bank of Nigeria powers to license, supervise, and revoke licenses of financial institutions. However, for the Cap B3 laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 amended bill 2020 passed by the Senate to become law, it has to be similarly passed by the House of Representatives, after which the reports will be harmonized and forwarded to the President for assent. The CBN, in its presentation at the public hearing, pushed for a review of the framework for managing failing institutions, a restriction remedy for successful action against revocation of license in line with international standards, and the creation of a credit tribunal. Now, on the bond market, oversubscribed, the bond was oversubscribed by 340.13 billion naira. The debt management office says the federal government bonds for the month of July was worth 130 billion naira, which were auctioned, and they were oversubscribed by 340.13 billion naira. The total subscription received for the bonds was 470.13 billion naira, comprising of 71.97 billion naira for the January 2026 bonds, 60.32 billion naira for the March 2035 bonds, 130.27 billion naira for the 9.8% July 2045 bonds, and 207.57 billion for the 12.98% March 2050 bonds. The safe haven yen advanced to a one-month high this Friday as deteriorating Sino-US relations heightened investor anxiety. Let's see how the naira is exchanging for other international currencies this Friday. Oil edged up on Friday as the dollar fell to an almost two-year low. Although demand concerns kept a lead on prices, the dollar slid to 22-month lows against a basket of currencies. A weaker dollar usually spurs buying of commodities priced in the greenback, like oil, because they become cheaper for holders of other currencies. Brent crude rose 15 cents to $43.46 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude rose by 12 cents to $41.19 a barrel. And on the commodities market, gold held steady on Friday en route its best week in more than 3 months, driven by an escalation in U.S.-China trade tensions. A look at the commodity prices is next. Nigeria being among the world's largest producers of cash crops such as cashew, cocoa, ginger, and shea nuts, is so big, but however, it is lagging behind in the global business of the commodities. This is sequel to poor handling, management, market strategy, and storage, among other challenges. The World Bank and the federal government are now joining forces to ensure that Nigeria agricultural outputs are accepted at the international markets. Musa Babaliu has details.
Export of agricultural produce have been recording steady growth since 2016 due to the federal government economy diversification policy. Recently, National Bureau of Statistics reported that agricultural commodities worth 152 billion naira were shipped out of the country for foreign earnings. However, agriculture economists alongside commodity market specialists are of the view that Nigeria could earn more if farmers and marketers will abide by the international standards of commodity trade. To this end, the World Bank and Federal Government Intervention Program, codenamed Appeals, is out to address and improve production of cash crops, vegetables, livestock and poultry in 6 states.
The Appeals project in Kogi State, supporting both farmers that are into production, we're supporting those that are into processing, and we're supporting those that are into marketing.
We're supporting quite a number of farmers in new technologies. We have the nipple-fitted drinkers and pelletized feed for our poultry farmers.
This meeting taking place here in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, is examining the strategy being adopted and progress since inception.
The project has also documented a total of 55 business alliances.
And that is why some of the technologies we demonstrated to farmers, we supported them with improved rice variety, adequate NPK, urea, agricultural agrochemicals.
The Agro-Processing Productivity Enhancement and Livelihood Improvement Support Project is targeting 60,000 individuals as direct beneficiaries, 10,000 beneficiaries per state, and 300,000 farmhold members as direct beneficiaries.
And joining us via telephone to discuss the issues of financing cash crops for exports is the National President of Federation of Agricultural Commodity Association of Nigeria, Dr. Victor Iyama. Dr. Victor Iyama, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Okay, so looking at COVID-19 that is with us right now, what can Nigeria do to boost her economy while the COVID-19 is still here and post-COVID-19?
Yes, definitely, as we've been saying over the years, agricultural development and agricultural venture, of course, is the escape route for us, because luckily we are blessed with a lot of fertile land, a lot of virgin land, and we have to be more serious. Because if we had been serious all these years, by now, we will not only be feeding ourselves very well, we'll be feeding Africa. Nigeria has no business importing any kind of food.
Okay.
Anyone at all, any type.
You said we need to be more serious. What can we do to be more serious? What are those things that we need to do?
What we can do, because now the government, I must confess, seems to be more serious now.
Okay.
Because we now know that the oil we all depend on is a finishing asset. And only God knows by this time next year, we may not even have any oil to sell. The oil is there in abundance, but what is the value? So we are all putting all our hands on deck now on Greek various commodities. We have analyzed it severally. We have at least about 15 or 18. We have over 62, but we have about 15, 18 that can be concentrated on, that can give us up to $100 billion in a year. So I believe the government is more proactive now. But they have to really be more serious about funding.
Okay.
And they have to ease the collaterals that are attached to farming, because many people are out there who wants to do it. The association is also ready to help them monitor many of the intrigues and many of the farmers. But at times, the collateral is a problem, which CBN wants to find a way around it to ease it a little bit, and we are waiting, because cash crops, for example, it's yes, people keep saying that our commodities are not accepted. That is not totally true.
Okay.
It is true that we need to improve, but blanket saying our commodities are not accepted, that is not true. Our commodities are well accepted. I agree with you that we need room for improvement.
All right, Mr. Iyama. Yes. Mr. Iyama, let's talk about cocoa production. How is Nigeria doing in cocoa production and marketing?
We're not doing well at all. We're far, far behind. We used to be number 1. We used to be number 2. Today we are number 7. And I think for years, the various ministers have been saying they will plant, they will plant, they will plant. We really need to plant cocoa. We need to rehabilitate the existing farms, because even if we rehabilitate the existing farms, we may be able to move to 500, 550,000 tons. Many of the farms are abandoned. Some are delivered. So to start with, we have to start with rehabilitation. We have to start with cutting off some old trees, planting the new variety that can give us more tonnage. As it stands today, we get between 350 and 450 kilos per hectare, whereas we can plant the improved varieties that can give us up to 1.5 tons per hectare, for instance.
All right, there are cases or reports in Nigeria of pest infestation. That's talking about cocoa production. Yes. What do you know about the pest infestation in the country?
Of course, we get that every year. That's not a problem. We have things to tackle that. That one, it's part of the business. It's what we experience every year. Pest infestation and all that more. Okay. Rats and
so how is the country handling it? Or farmers in general, how are they handling the situation?
Yes, like usual, we have various chemicals at which we use to handle it, but of course they are very expensive now. So some farmers don't even bother. What they try to do is to maybe plug the pods away and destroy them. But of course we're still battling with it. We're battling with it. That one, it occurs almost every year. So we are used to it as farmers. We have chemicals to battle it. And especially when the rains are much, we have such things facing us. But all the same, like we keep saying, we have to plant cocoa. We have to remove ourselves from these 250,000 tons for years. We should be moving towards 500,000 tons, 800,000 tons, and to 1 million. Cote d'Ivoire is producing 2.1 million tons. They used to be below us. So there's no magic to it. It's hard. We have to face it. We have to be serious. But I'm happy that this government is taking it serious now, because that is the only way out, my sister.
Okay, tell us the current price of cocoa in the market.
You see, cocoa, of course, cocoa fluctuates. If you are talking of international market, today is about $2,100. Tomorrow it may be $2,200. It may even fall to $1,900. Cocoa price does not stay in one place. It is determined by terminal market. It's either the New York market or the London terminal market. It is not stable. So that's why when people say, what is cocoa price? I always tell them, cocoa price is on a daily basis. It fluctuates because it is determined by the terminal market.
Okay, let's talk about the processing of the commodity.
Pardon me?
Let's talk about the processing of the commodity. Are we doing well in terms of processing? Because the AFDB has, over the years, complained about lack of capacity for Africa to add value to its cocoa. So how is Nigeria doing?
Yes, of course, the AFDB is right. Do we really have that capacity? But we don't, it is still funding, which the AFDB too is trying to help. Mm-hmm. But aside from that, we are processing to butter, to cake, to powder. But the final product, which is chocolate and cocoa drinks, we're far lacking behind. And because even when we process to butter, to cake, to powder, we are still subject to the terminal market, which also is a problem. Because when we do that, there are some discounts that that we also experience. You can imagine they are processing something in your homeland and they will be discounting, they will say origin discount. With the, how can you be discounting us for processing in our country? You will say origin discount. And another thing they discount at times is what they call EPA discount, economic part agreement discount. This economic part that we have refused to sign with Europe and all those things. So
what will it take for Nigeria to sign the pact? Do you think it's necessary?
For me, I will never support it because it's just like enslaving us. Why should we sign it? What they are saying is we have to throw our borders open so that they can bring in anything they want. We too can bring in anything we want to bring there. What do we have that we want to give to them? I don't want to start deceiving ourselves. It is not necessary.
Okay, very quickly, Mr. Iyama.
Yes?
Very quickly, before I let you go. And you've been lamenting that Nigeria needs to surpass its current production. What do we need to do? Just very quickly.
What we need to do is fund some research institutions like Green to produce the new variety of coconut trees to be planting. And when I'm saying cocoa, it is not just cocoa. The same thing goes for cashew, sesame, ginger, shea butter, and all those products. And I told you about 15, which we have talked about. So the same thing goes for that. It's not only cocoa.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Victor Iyama, the President, Federation of Agricultural Commodity Association of Nigeria, for joining us on Business Express today.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Asia Pacific markets fell this Friday as investor sentiment takes a hit over worsening U.S.-China tensions and a sell-off in U.S. markets overnight. Here's a graphic summary of market performance. And with the Global Market Report, we end this episode of Business Express. Don't forget you can access all this and other episodes on YouTube, and you can also communicate with us on Twitter. The handle is @NTA News Now. The hashtag is BizX. As we continue the fight against COVID-19, remember to follow the set-down guidelines. I am Uplang Dakok. See you next week.